What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host Josh, and we are here for your weekly update for your Canadian men's national team abroad players. This week's update is going to be from December 6th to December 13th, and we're going to take a look back on some European competitions, see how the players did, and round up there, some league play as well, and also a little transfer rumors and fun updates as well for some dual nationals. So hopefully you guys are excited for another episode of the Canadian men's national team abroad series, and if you are, be sure to drop a like on the video, drop a sub as well if you're new to the channel. Let's get into the episode now. Alright guys, another week has gone by and another historical moment for Canada soccer. It's incredible to see right now, for the very first time ever, there is going to be two Canadian players in the round of 16 for the Champions League. Quite an accomplishment, with a big shout out to Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies. So let's start there, don't we? As we do every week, come on, in our Big Five. And there's going to be a new little Big Five this week, but we'll get to it. The first player on our Big Five that we're going to take a look at for this week is indeed Jonathan David. And we're going to start with Jonathan David for a couple different reasons. We're going to start with Jonathan David mainly because in the Champions League, it kind of seemed like Lille pulled off the incredible. They really did. I personally didn't have much faith in Lille, just given their history in European competitions, that they were going to actually qualify for the round of 16. But Jonathan David proved us all wrong, and he did. And I'm very happy he did, as midweek in the Champions League, David started and played all 90 minutes as Lille beat Wolfsburg 3-1. We did a nice watch along here on the channel, so thank you guys for all the support. And in that match, David did score a very nice composed goal as well, and Lille topped the table with a 3-2-1 record, as Sevilla is the team that missed out, with Salzburg finishing second and Wolfsburg finishing last, something that I personally did not think was going to happen. Unfortunately, though, for Lille, they did draw Chelsea in the Champions League round of 16. Not the easiest tie, but we'll have to see how Lille can get on. At the weekend, Lille then went on to draw against Lyon 0-0. David did start and played all 90 minutes in that match again, had a couple of chances here and there, but ultimately was a tough match. Lille probably should have won if not something from stellar goalkeeping from Anthony Lopez, and Lille still find their continuous struggles in the lead as they sit 11th in the table with a 6-7-5 record. Moving on now to our second player of the historic double Canadians, the double-double, the double D's double-double, whatever you want to call them. We're going to take a look at Alphonso Davies and how he did this week. And midweek, Bayern pretty much did what Bayern does. Midweek in the Champions League, it didn't matter that they were already 5-0-0. It didn't matter that they were going through, and this is Barca's chance to save their humility. Alphonso Davies and Bayern showed no mercy. Davies started in that matchup, played 71 minutes as Bayern beat Barca 3-0 to put Barca in the Europa League, and I think Bayern really got some enjoyment out of that. Davies played excellent once again, picking up a great assist as well, and Bayern topped the table with a 6-0-0 record, drawing up against Salzburg, who Jonathan David's side obviously played in the group stages, are going to face them in the round of 16, so a pretty kind draw, with no disrespect to Salzburg, for Bayern Munich. And at the weekend, well, I mean, same 3 points. You know how it goes with Bayern. It was a bit of a tricky one this weekend, though, as they beat Mainz 2-1. Davies started as a left wing back in a 3-4-2-1 system, as Bayern now go 12-1-2 to sit first in the table. But the Mainz took the lead relatively early, and Bayern just were looking a little sloppy. There's a huge hole in that midfield without Kimmich and Goretzka, and it was just one of those awkward ones. But it's that nice little shift that they're able to do to make sure that Davies has that space to get up and down the pitch the way he is. And that's what makes Davies so special and have so much fun at Bayern, being able to play in that left wing back's position. We love seeing him getting attacking, and Nagelsmann's definitely utilizing and allowing Alphonso Davies to really thrive under his management and his style. And Bayern obviously climbed back to win 2-1 to now separate them points to go 6 points top of the table in the Bundesliga. Moving on to third in our Big Five, we're going to take a look at a Tiba Hutchinson, who once again, Besiktas having a week to forget, just in the Champions League though. In the Champions League, they took on Borussia Dortmund and lost 5-0. There was a red card that was involved. It was just a team that just wasn't really up for it, and the game didn't matter at all, considering that Dortmund and Besiktas have already been eliminated, and they already figured out that Dortmund was going to the Europa League. Either way, Hutch was subbed on in the 82nd minute, didn't have much of an impact on that match. No one really in Besiktas did, and Besiktas go pointless, 0-0-6 in the Champions League group stage. But at the weekend, it was better, as Hutch started and played 73 minutes as a center midfielder in the 4-3-3 under new management for Besiktas. They looked better already. They got the big 4-2 victory, and it was better stuff from Hutchinson, as he obviously is able to kind of tailor the way he's playing, given the fact that those older legs, he's got to be critical how he plays, and playing 73 minutes in a game like this, he looked much better than he did having to play obviously at the weekend because he got the time off, and it was just much better for Hutchinson all around, and under the new management, it's a good thing to pick up 3 points. Moving on to fourth now of our big 5, and it is going to sticking with the same team Besiktas, but it's going to be looking at Kyle Larsen, who, similar to Hutch, didn't have any impact in the 5-0 loss to BBB. No one did. Just no one did. It was one to forget once again for Besiktas, but Larsen did start as a left attacking midfielder in a 4-2-3-1 in that setup for the 5-0 loss, and at the weekend, Larsen started as a left winger in a 4-3-3 with a new change of shape under new management as Besiktas finally did get that 4-2 win, broke the winless streak. Larsen scored a nice goal as well. It was a nice little looping header he got on early on in the game, scoring Besiktas' first goal of the night. And with that win, though, it's not seeming all doom and gloom right now, as Besiktas are back up to 7th in the table with a 7-3-6 record. It really looked like a coaching change was needed. The group did and completed and accomplished so much last season. It just obviously got stuck in their own potential ways, and hopefully a new shape will be there, and it's already a good start with a big 4-2 win to get Hutchinson, Larsen, and Besiktas back on track. Alright guys, and taking a look at the 5th player in our big 5, it's not Tajon Buchanan, it's not Stefan Eustáquio, both players did not feature. It's a new one, a new player we haven't mentioned at all really in this series. It is Junior Hoilett. He is back. Really good to see for a Canadian national team player, just fan pool knowing that Hoilett's coming back and hopefully can get back in form, help Reading avoid relegation with that little 6-point deduction that they picked up, and hopefully get ready as well for the January window. And he didn't have a crazy amount of impact, but he was subbed on in the 68th minute. He had 13 touches, 3 crosses, 1 key pass in that as well, but Reading unfortunately lost 1-0 to West Brom, West Brom's at the top of the table fighting for promotion, and Reading unfortunately just at the bottom fighting to not get relegated. The lineup was in a 3-4-2-1 system when Hoilett came on, kind of playing in one of those floating cam positions as well, kind of drifting out wide when needed. And with that loss, though, Reading sit 21st in the table with an 8-3-11 record on 21 points. So not the best return for Hoilett, but it's great to see him back. I'm excited and hopefully seeing that he can create and do some chances with Reading this season to make sure that they don't get relegated, because they're too good of a side to get relegated, and him and hopefully Andy Carroll will find some magic up front. Going over to our first pit stop on the journey, we're stopping in England in League One with Theo Corbiano. My boy had an interesting little week for himself, as Wednesday are definitely competing for the promotion places. He started and played 83 minutes as a left wing back in a 3-5-2 system as Wednesday won 2-0 against Crewe. Theo had 1 shot, 43 touches. It was a little bit sloppy as he had low passing percentage throughout the match, but he was ever present, always continually taking on players, which is something that we know Corbiano is very good at. Wednesday sits 7th in the table with a 9-10-3 record, really starting to find a bit of their form under Darren Moore, starting to show that there's a good chance that they're going to get into those promotion places. And Theo Corbiano, as I keep praising him on the channel because I just love what he's able to do, he's really found a new home on the wings, and I think that's such an important position to see how well he can do as a wing back playing for the Canadian men's national team. Sticking with League One, we're going to take a look at Daniel Jebson, and unfortunately for Daniel, he had a week to forget. We praised him so much in the last episode because he was scoring goals for fun, but this week was not so good for him or Burton as well. As midweek, he started and played 45 minutes as Burton lost 2-1 to Wycombe, playing as a left winger in a 3-4-3 system. So a new change of shape there, putting Jebson out wide. It didn't pay off, and he obviously got yanked off at halftime. And at the weekend, surprisingly, he didn't get the start after getting those goals. He didn't get looked at. He got put on the bench and was subbed on in the 73rd minute as Burton lost once again to Rotherham 3-1 to sit 13th in the table with an 8-4-10 record. Not the best week for Jebson. He was subbed on as a winger once again, so it's a little bit surprising seeing his goal scoring form playing as that striker, lone striker in the 3-4-3, or even as the dual striker up front, to now going to get shoved on the wing a little bit. Maybe they got to be looked at a little bit and see if Jebson gets put back in the middle, because this was a week to forget for Daniel Jebson and Burton Albion. Moving on over to the Netherlands, we're going to take a look at Brim, who we have not covered in a long time here on the channel. And it's about time we kind of got back in and kind of take a look at him, see how he's doing, see how Eindhoven are doing as well in the 2nd division over in the Netherlands. He was subbed on at the weekend at halftime, and he was playing as a right winger in a 4-3-3 setup. Eindhoven ended up getting a draw as they sit 8th in the table, just the last promotion seed, with a 9-3-7 record. Brim obviously is going to be probably still featuring for the Canadian national team every once in a while. He's one of the attacking options when playing at least in Europe, so it's good to see him get back on the field, getting some minutes. We'll have to see how his season can progress from here. Moving on over to Belgium now, we're going to take a look at EK Ugbo, who under new management we were hoping was going to thrive. Seeing the success he had last season in the league, we were hoping it would kind of pick back up under new management, and it just was not the case this week. As midweek in the Europa League, Ugbo started and played 45 minutes and was subbed off at halftime as Genk lost to Rapid Vienna 1-0, and with that, Genk finished 4th in the group with a 1-2-3 record. Top 2 move on, 3rd go to the UEFA Europa Conference League, and 4th place get nothing. So Genk are out of European football for the rest of this season. At the weekend, it didn't get any better as Genk lost to Ghent 1-0. Ugbo was subbed on in the 85th minute as Genk now sit 11th in the table with a 6-4-8 record, winless in their last 9 in all comps. So this season has not been going EK Ugbo's way, has not been going Ghent's way. It's one that they're already wanting to forget, and the new management needs to find a way to get this group performing together. And I think EK can personally, without even being a little bit biased, can be a big part of that. We've seen how successful he was last season. They just need to find the right balance to hopefully turn the season around, because it's very frustrating times right now not being able to pick up a win in the last 9. Moving on over to Greece now, we're taking a look at my boy Derek Cornelius, who we know is going to come in handy at one day because of that center back depth that we just really don't have in Europe. He's someone who's playing consistent minutes, I might add, in the Greece league, and the team's finding a little bit better form, as at the weekend they drew 2-2. They now sit 3-3-7 at the weekend. They're 11th in the table, have moved on up. Derek played all 90 minutes in that match as a center back in a 3-5-2 system. It's good to see. I personally like what I saw from Cornelius when he played for Canada, and I know coming up in the next window it's going to be important to see hopefully some fresh players get in, and Cornelius is right on that bubble, so the fact that he continues to keep playing and hopefully seeing his form stay the way it is and the form of the team actually picking up some more points, it'll be good for him and good for the team in general as they're going their way up the table. Heading on over to Portugal and taking a look at Moreirense and Steven Vitória, who are once again struggling a little bit and towards that relegation zone right now. As Steven Vitória, though, is still getting minutes as he started and played all 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-2-3-1 system, but unfortunately they lost 1-0 to sit 17th in the table right now with a 1-6-6 record. It's not good times right now. They're not picking up results or having wins, very struggling to come by. But I mean, the nice thing as an outside Canadian national team fan supporter is that Vitória is continuously having strong performances. I mean, he's been scoring goals. He's still a big leader. Just the team in itself can't really find a way. Similar to Eustachio's side and Paco Freire, who he didn't feature at the weekend. Both of them look like they're going to be battling in relegation this season. And for my hope, I really hope neither one of them do get relegated, because both teams are good enough to survive, but they are definitely going through some tough times right now in Portugal. Moving on over to Scotland now, we're going to take a look at Harry Patton, whose side are off the bottom of the table. Ross County has moved up to 11th place. However, 12th place is St. Johnstone, who we're not going to mention this week, mainly because Wotherspoon is still not playing. He's still out injured, but they've been having a very tough go at it. They really missed the form of Wotherspoon in the form that they had last season that had, a couple trophies with it. But right now, they're sitting dead last 12th place, but Ross County and Harry Patton have moved up a little bit, as Patton over the weekend has started and played 45 minutes. He was subbed off at halftime. He played as a CDM in a 4-2-3-1 system as Ross County beat Dundee FC 3-2. And it's impressive now going up to 11th place as they look buried at the basement of the table with a 3-5-8 record. Patton's going to be someone who I keep talking about being important come the January window, and I think that he will be. He has been a real star for Ross County this season, and we're hoping that it continues. We also hope that Wotherspoon can get back healthy and get St. Johnstone off the basement of the table as well, and maybe push Dundee down there, because no Canadians over there. But good week for Ross County. Not the best of matches for Patton, but he'll bounce back, and hopefully they continue carrying up and can move up the table. All right, guys, moving on to Rangers and Scott Arfield, a player I'm really looking forward to touch on, and I'll explain why. But taking a look at his performances over the week, we're going to start in the Europa League, where he was subbed on in the 61st minute as Rangers drew Lyon 1-1 in the Europa League to end it in second place with a 2-2-2 record. And they ended up drawing against Borussia Dortmund for the round of 32, or whatever now you want to call it, to get a chance to play in the round of 16. So a very interesting matchup there, and one I will be definitely keeping a very close eye at. At the weekend, Arfield started and played all 90 minutes as a center attacking mid in a 4-2-3-1. The new system under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is really coming well for Arfield as the Rangers beat Hearts 2-0, and they still sit top of the table with a 13-3-1 record. And now let's take a look at Scott Arfield's comments off the pitch as he was looking to talk to Sky Sports on the Canadian men's national team. This was his quote: "I don't really know the situation at the minute. I've spoken to the manager. I'm always up for selection. There's a camp in January, which is a non-FIFA window. We'll look into it. If not, it will be March." So very interesting. A lot to dissect with that as the non-FIFA window. I mean, I can't imagine Arfield's going to get called into that, or any Canadian men's national team players playing abroad will get called into that because it's a non-FIFA window. They have games to play. But it does look like the conversation is potentially there, and Arfield could potentially feature in one of the next couple windows. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know about the confusion because we have that one friendly, and it's a little bit different. So I'm not really sure where he went with that. It's got some people were messaging me about it, but maybe there's confusion from Arfield. Maybe there's not. Either way, it does look like he's going to be in the conversation. We're going to have to wait to see how that plays out because Arfield will be massive to our midfield come the next 1 or 2 windows because he's definitely good enough, and especially with his club form under his new management is absolutely skyrocketing. Moving on over to Serbia now, we're going to take a look at Milan Borean, and I always talk about him being a clean sheet master, but this week I guess I might have jinxed him a little bit because it just wasn't the case. As midweek, Borean in the Europa League, his side, Red Star, took on Braga. They drew 1-1, and because of that point, though, they were still able to finish first in the table with a 3-2-1 record, getting a bye to the round of 16 in the Europa League. And at the weekend, Red Star once again drew 1-1. They conceded late in the 83rd minute, and with that, they still sit second in the table with a 16-3-1 record. So they are going to be a few points out of first place right now, making it a little bit tougher to close that gap. But ultimately, it's still nice to see them competing for the title and now going on to the next round in the Europa League. Alright guys, staying in Serbia but talking about a brand new player. It is Stefan Mitrović. You guys are probably pretty familiar with him. He's a center midfielder playing for Radicki over in Serbia as well. Having a pretty successful season, and it looks to be a potential dual national that we're going to maybe get. He's going to be involved in our January camp just for that non-FIFA friendly against Guatemala, which is exciting to see, and there's a good potential he could potentially come up and play in the next couple windows as well. There's been a lot of buzz around Twitter, a lot of sources around him, and it's time to bring him on the channel and talk about his week. As over the weekend, he played and started all 90 minutes playing as a center mid in a 4-1-4-1 system. As Radicki drew 1-1, and they're actually doing still pretty well in the table as they sit 5th right now with a 6-9-5 record. He is a creative player. He's an exciting player. He's a player that, again, to that midfield when I'm talking about Scott Arfield and now Mitrović, these players can commit and get back in. Our January midfield looks a lot better than it was going to potentially look at without these players. So I'm excited, really happy to have him back here on our Canadian national team abroad episode, and hopefully to be able to cover him much to come when he commits to the Canadian national team. Alright guys, we're taking a look over at Switzerland now and taking a look at my guy, Liam Miller. Always excited to talk about this kid. I think that I still can't talk about this move up enough. I really enjoy watching Basel. I like seeing the way that he's progressing, playing their system, his partnership as well with Arthur up front. It's been a lot of fun to see. And over the weekend, he found some success, but midweek is where we're going to start. And midweek, he was subbed on the 63rd minute, which isn't always the best. He didn't start as Stalker had his spot as the left attacking mid in a 4-2-3-1 setup. Basel did end up beating Karabag 3-0, and with that 3 points, they sit top of the UEFA Europa Conference League standings with a 4-2-0 record, getting a bye on to the round of 16. And at the weekend, Miller came on in the 59th minute, again came on for Stalker in that left attacking mid in the 4-2-3-1 system. He was looking very dangerous and scored the equalizer on the 84th minute as Basel ended up dropping points once again as they drew 2-2, and they sit second in the table with an 8-7-1 record on 31 points, 6 points behind Zurich with a game in hand, so they can cut that deficit down to 3. But these draws are really starting to get Basel right now, and they're hurting them in the chance to potentially compete for the title. But the goal Miller scored at the weekend was just, it was glorious, to be honest. It was a nice little take. It was a bullet in the back of the net. The precision, the confidence on this kid, it's what you want to see. I love playing in the 4-2-3-1 system and him playing as that left attacking mid. I think it's where he's at his best, when he has the opportunity to take players on 1v1 and get himself into the dangerous position to cut on to that dangerous right foot of his. So it was a good weekend, personally, for Miller, which, I mean, I'm always happy about, but I do want to see Basel starting to get these wins because the draws are really starting to hamper this title challenge. Alright guys, our last pit stop, we're going to take a look at Samuel Adekubi and his side Hasaspor over the weekend, as it was better. They finally, I think the first time I was covering them on the channel where they weren't doing well and picking up points, they came up a big loss and had to see the way that they could bounce back, and they bounced back with class. As at the weekend, Adekubi started as a left wing back in a 3-4-2-1 system, so a new shape, getting Adekubi that more attacking role as he played all 90 minutes. Hasaspor went on and won 2-1 to now sit third in the table with a 9-2-5 record. Good stuff from Hasaspor, and it's good to see them starting to switch up the shape a little bit, as we've seen Adekubi being able to play as a left back. And again, I always talked about him being that little bit more conservative defensive side of his left back position, but instead he really showed that he's got the ability to go forward. He did it for Canada. Now he's doing it for Hasselspor, which is great to see. And another good week for Samuel Adekubi in Turkey. All right, guys, to end off today's episode, we're going to have some transfer news, and they're going to be both surrounding TFC players, as Julian Dunn is going to be now off to HamKam. The name probably rings a bell because that's where Theo Corbiano has been playing. They just won the second division in Norway to now get promoted up to the top flight, and his contract with TFC has expired, so the 21-year-old center back could be a regular starter and will be very great for his development moving on over to Norway to get a ton of minutes with HamKam next season. The other player we're going to be focusing on is another TFC youngster, and that is Jayden Nelson, who's been impressing with his trial with the Belgian Giants Anderlecht. It's going to be cool to see. I've always been a fan of Nelson. He's still 19, very young, hasn't got the minutes he really wanted in the MLS so far. And if he's able to get this trial and make it successful with Anderlecht, that would be a massive, massive move going to a great league like Belgium and a good top club like Anderlecht. So we're going to have to wait and see the way that those two play out, guys. That brings us to an end of this episode of Canadian Men's National Team Abroad. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a fun one, a lot to talk about. Let us know what your guys' favorite moment was from your Canadians over the week. David's goal, maybe you're a big Bayern guy, you know, enjoyed the big wins, or whoever it may be, and let us know what you guys think about some of the transfers and whatnot with the young TFC players, especially Nelson, because I'd be curious to see if you guys are keeping an eye on that as well. Hope you guys did enjoy it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on today's episode. Be sure to drop a sub as well. We're getting very close to 7,000 subscribers, and I appreciate everyone who keeps coming in and showing the support, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers, friends.